minds, I thought that this time would be well used if I just led a quick panel discussion. We were told 15 minutes on Toastmasters, and my team is here. Paula Ticci and Michael DeCamelis are officers in our district. Michael, if you hang around, you'll be able to talk about your business also a little later. So let's start off with the basics. So Paula, what is Toastmasters?
Good morning, everyone. And that is exactly the question. What is Toastmasters International? Toastmasters International is a worldwide nonprofit educational organization that empowers people like yourselves to become more effective communicators and leaders. It's a network of over 358,000 members in more than 16,800 clubs across 143 countries. This nearly 100-year-old organization has a vision to be the first choice provider of dynamic, high-value, experiential communication and leadership skills development. The Toastmasters program, as we know it today, had very humble beginnings. The program began as a series of speaking clubs organized by founder Ralph C. Smedley during his time working for the YMCA in Bloomington, Illinois. As the director of education at the YMCA, Smedley saw the need for men in the community to learn how to speak, conduct meetings, plan programs, and work on committees. Smedley decided to organize a club where they could learn these skills in a social environment, and he named the group the Toastmasters Club. Toastmaster was a popular term that referred to a person who gave toasts at banquets and other special occasions. The first official Toastmasters meeting was held on March 24th in 1905. Smedley worked for the YMCA in several other cities. However, none of his fledgling clubs continued in his absence. In April of 1924, he organized the Toastmasters Club that would eventually become Toastmasters International Club No. 1. And that club was formed in Santa Ana, California. Word spread about Smedley's Toastmasters Club, and soon people in the surrounding communities were asking how they could start their own clubs. So this led Smedley to write his manual of instructions and the 10 lessons in public speaking. He secured copyrights on the publication and trademarked the name Toastmasters Club in 1928. In 1930, there were nearly 30 Toastmasters clubs that had formed, including a club in British Columbia, Canada. And to reflect the expansion outside of the United States, the newly formed association was renamed Toastmasters International. By 1970, the Toastmasters chapter in San Diego admitted its first female member, a woman named Helen Blanchard. But the chapter had to disguise Helen's gender under the name Homer Blanchard because Toastmasters International's position on banning women had not changed. Finally, and I say finally, in 1973, Toastmasters began to officially admit women. Today, the Toastmasters program is online, and it allows the members to access it from anywhere at any time. The program has 11 different specialized learning paths that are built upon 5 core competencies. And those competencies are public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, management, and confidence. Before I yield the floor back to my colleague, I want to leave you with knowing the Toastmasters core values, and they are integrity, respect, service, and excellence. Jim, I return the floor to you.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Great job. So we're 100 years old almost, and large organization, nonprofit, 501c3. So Michael, what goes on in a Toastmasters meeting?
Well, we hope that they're fun. I think Paula's done a great job of giving you a history and background of Toastmasters. Toastmasters, in its core function, provides a supportive environment and the tools and resources for people to grow and learn. And they do that by repetitive and repeated practice. So you do something, you give a speech, you have a role, which I'll talk about in just a second, and then you get an evaluation, and then you do that better the next time. So what goes on, there's every club has its own unique flavor. It's a family of sorts. Some of them are corporate clubs, some of them are community clubs. And within that, in those, there's usually some functionary roles. There's a grammarian that checks your grammar and count your ums and ahs and things that you're not even aware of that you become educated about, and then you learn to do better. And then there's other table topics, which are extemporaneous speaking opportunities that are short, 1 to 2 minutes, just to be able to think on your feet and talk about a topic of the day. And then there's speech projects that people follow and practice. And traditionally there have been manuals, and now it's online, as Paula has mentioned. And so over the course of an hour to 2 hours, depending upon each club has its own time frame, members get an opportunity to give speeches, present topics. Some of them are what Jim is doing today, one of the advanced topics, and managing a forum. And through those processes, they give evaluations. So by giving evaluations and being evaluated, you build a cumulative knowledge on how to communicate better. And then there's also leadership opportunities within the organizations. So you have a club president, vice president of education was responsible for making sure that people stay on target on what their particular goals are. There's nothing that's hard and fast. It's everybody sets their own pace and works at their own rate. There's vice presidents of membership, make sure that members are recruited and enrolled properly. There's vice president of public relations, which takes care of the outside side of how do we publicize our clubs, how do we attract new members. There's a secretary that's assigned to record the meetings, and also officer meetings, which are a separate entity in themselves. There's a treasurer that takes care of funds and payments to Toastmasters International for their dues. And then there's a sergeant at arms that takes care of, when we're meeting virtually, there's not as much to do, but that sergeant at arms would be in charge of taking care of the room, making sure everything's set up, resources are available for somebody who's doing their presentation. So in a nutshell, a meeting is not dissimilar from what you're doing right now. There's a format that's followed. It's an outline. We kind of look at it as music. Sheet music. Those are the notes that should be played, but you can play them in any key that you like. And so the meetings will open. There will be any sort of announcements that need to be made. They'll go in, follow an agenda as far as speaking roles, thought of the day, word of the day to increase our vocabulary. And then they'll typically do speeches, and then the table topics. And the table topics, I think, are one of the most fun and dynamic pieces of our meetings. The table topics allow you to, I always say an example for meetings when I'm meeting people, imagine you get caught with your boss in an elevator and you have that 30 seconds to talk about, well, are you going to talk about the weather, or gee, it was a nice game last night, or would you engage that person in some sort of conversation? So it's just really being able to speak quickly off the top of your head. And there's much more that goes on. We hope the meetings are fun, they're engaging. There's theme meetings that are given to, around holiday times, just to keep things fresh. Jim, I think I could go on. I could go on for
question, Mike.
Sure.
How much is it to join, and how often are the meetings?
Each club is going to be different as far as their schedule. Most clubs in our district meet twice a month. Some meet weekly if they're a very large club. That's really dependent upon the club itself. On average, I would say most of them are twice a meeting. International dues is $45 twice a year, and then the club will either have zero dues or may have a nominal fee. For example, my club charges $1.50 a month, so our total dues is $9 a month, and that's just to cover meeting spaces, to have money to purchase awards, banners like you'll see behind us. And we have open houses. The district is generous in refunding and giving us funds to have open houses, but depending on where we're meeting, sometimes we need additional funds. So, and we waive that if somebody's challenged, is out unemployed or something. We're in a community club, a particular club. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Jim?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Michael. I have posted in chat a PDF, the benefits of membership. It's one page. And I've also posted a link to a YouTube video that's 12 minutes that explains what goes on in a meeting. So Paula, why would a business person want to join a Toastmasters club?
Toastmasters gives you the opportunity to become comfortable, to practice speaking in front of an audience. It teaches you also, it helps you to learn to speak on your feet. It gives you the leadership and management skills because you will run a meeting. You will have the opportunity to engage in different things. You'll learn to, you'll learn to listen carefully and think critically, because you'll learn how to listen to someone and then give a clear, concise response to what they are saying. You'll learn to organize your meetings. You'll learn to run committees. There are so many opportunities from both the business aspect and the personal aspect, and it helps to build confidence. And also you network. You meet a lot of people in Toastmasters, some in your industry, some in industries connected to your industries, or some where you just meet and it exposes you to new ideas, new thoughts, and new experiences.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps someone from our group here, one of the business people, would like to talk about a business problem they have, and maybe we can talk about how Toastmasters can help. So can we talk about, Michael and Paula, how a business might find more customers, for example, more prospective customers, if the person is in Toastmasters and has Toastmasters training?
Jim, I'd like to add, I am a small business owner. I've only been at it for 22 years, so I'm working on a career. The first immutable rule of any business relationship is people do business with whom they like and they trust. And being a Toastmasters helps you develop those skills to communicate. Nobody has a successful business on an island. They have to be able to get out there to networking events. They have to be able to market themselves. And the more practice you have on communicating and expressing your thoughts and ideas clearly and succinctly, it increases your chance of developing relationships that will increase your business. And that's really the bottom line, is how well can you communicate with others? Do people like you? And people do business with people whom they like and they trust.
Okay, thank you. I'll mention that I've done seminars on Social Security planning and financial planning for women, and having practiced that at Toastmasters gave me the confidence and some skills to be able to do that. Anybody else have a business problem that they'd like to discuss that maybe we can show that Toastmasters can help with?
I don't think it's maybe not a problem per se, but obviously more and more things are going virtual. More and more things are going, digital and video and things, and making video content for things. So, I mean, I think I know the answer, but as far as how much of this is for live presentation and how much of this has been adapted for, a digital presentation.
All right, Paula?
Oh, I was going to say, originally, the majority of the clubs met in person. The pandemic has changed that. Many of our clubs are meeting online, and initially people were uncomfortable with, some people, not all, some of our members were uncomfortable, but the more they do it, the more comfortable they come, the more effective. And they are realizing that this is part of our new normal, and they are now embracing it, and they are learning to use the technologies and to effectively, it's very different. I told someone, in person, nervous people sometimes will pace back and forth. Virtually, what I call I call this virtual pacing. You'll see people do this, and it teaches them the same skills that you learn in live presentation are also there for virtual presentation, just slightly modified. So it shows you how to present virtually so that the audience is listening to you as a person and not being distracted by the things that are going on around you or the activities that you are doing. So Toastmasters gives you that opportunity really to practice that in a safe environment.
Okay. All right. So Michael, if someone wanted to join a club, what would they do?
Well, again, every club is somewhat different in their approach, but in our club, we want to make sure that the person visits at least twice when we're having in-person meetings, and virtually it would be the same. We want to make sure that it's a good fit for that person. Everybody gets excited. Oh, wow, I came up and I did a table topics, or they participated, and hopefully there's a great amount of enthusiasm. The club meeting was dynamic and engaged them. But we want to make sure that, hey, was it just the moment, that they were there, or were they really engaged and really want to improve, their speaking or their leadership skills? And if they come back, that's always a good sign. If they come back, we will discuss membership with them, and there's no rush in our club to sign someone up. They can come attend as a guest as long as they like. There are some restrictions. We don't allow them to do a prepared speech because that's a part of the Toastmaster program, but they can engage in word of the day thoughts and table topics until they feel comfortable. We want people to feel like this is part of an extension to their social and professional lives. And then after that, we review the membership application, which is simple: name, address, email, contact information, and then discuss the Toastmaster fees. It's prorated. As I mentioned before, it was $45 twice a year, depending upon where you are in that cycle. It's prorated. You don't pay any extra. And club dues. And if they're able and they're ready to do that, we sign them up, and then they begin the program. Once they join, we guide them through the online education system. Now it's called Pathways. We guide them in getting signed up. There's a self-assessment that it provides you with a number of questions. Based on these answers to these questions, we suggest this would be a learning path that you might want to take, but you're not restricted to that. And hopefully they'll ask other people in a club, what are you doing? What? And so we give them counsel on that, and then we sign them a mentor in our club, where somebody they can lean on, for at least when they're getting started, so that they can, best take advantage of the resources available to them. Jim?
Okay, thank you, Michael. I